Kuzuzambo, a very warm welcome to Bhutan This Week, our weekly news magazine program with me, Ishi Gelson. Our top stories this week: His Majesty the King graced the last day of Takar Kuche of Takarangasa at Chume in Pumta. His Holiness the Jekembo presides over Thimphu Melam Chemo. And Her Majesty the Gelson graces a celebration to commemorate the 30th anniversary of the signing of the Montreal Protocol. His Majesty the King graced the last day of Takar Kuche held at Takarangasa of Chumigeok in Pumtan on Tuesday. His Majesty granted a thondre of Tukse Dawa Gese to the monastery and its community. Tukse Dawa is one of the sons of Terten Pemalingpa.
His Majesty offered prayers to the thonde, which has an image of Tukse Dawa and a depiction of his lineage.
This is the thonde of Terten Pemalingpa's hard son Tukse Dawa. There are also all the 10 reincarnates of him on it. It also has an image of his protecting deity Tandin.
Various mass dances of Peling tradition were performed at the courtyard of the monastery. Takar Kuche is an annual festival celebrated to commemorate the death anniversary of Tukse Dawa in the year 1586. In the afternoon, His Majesty granted a toka to thousands of people gathered to witness the festival. The community offered sokchang to His Majesty. Takar Ngatsang was established by Tukse Dawa in the 16th century. The place got its name as Takar after auspicious white monkeys helped him construct the monastery. The monastery's line of descendants, called the Takar Shengu, is one of the most significant lineages in the history of Bhutan. Earlier in the morning, His Majesty visited Jampalhaga, where Jampalhaga Dup is going on. Takar Kuche and Jampalhaga Dup are the two most popular festivals in Pumta, attracting hundreds of tourists. For Kipchu in Pumta, Pupgam for BBS News.
The second annual Melam Chemo of Thimphu concluded on Saturday at the Kinsel Podra. His Holiness the Jekembo presided over the 6-day ceremony that began on Monday.
Unlike previous years, this time monks from different Ruabdi and Shedra from across the country are leading the daily prayers on a rotational basis. Today, the monks from the 6 Eastern Dzongkhag Ruabdi led the prayers. Close to 5,000 devotees from across the country have also stayed back after Kanjur oral transmission to attend the great prayer ceremony. It will end on Friday, coinciding with the descending day of Lord Buddha. The first Melam Chemo in the country was conducted at Tharpaling Monastery in Pumthang in 1937 under the royal patronage of the second king. His Holiness the Jekembo then initiated the ceremony as an annual event in all the Dzongkhags in 2000. For Pematsawang, Kilidem, BBS News.
Her Majesty the Gelson graced a celebration to commemorate the 30th anniversary of the signing of the Montreal Protocol, a United Nations treaty to take steps to protect the ozone layer, on Monday. Dignitaries and senior officials from the government, the United Nations and private sector also attended the event organized by the National Environment Commission.
In commemoration of the anniversary, the Mutithang Park in Thimphu was declared as Ozone Park. With support from the Tromde, the park has been remodeled into an ozone advocacy park, providing information on ozone history and initiatives of countries across the world for ozone layer protection. A press release from the Royal Office for Media states, efforts of protecting the ozone layer have bolstered by Her Majesty the Gelson's support as the ozone ambassador of the United Nations Environment Programme. Alongside the inaugural of the park, a coffee table book on 25 years of partnership for environment conservation, documenting the achievements of the last 25 years, was launched. The National Environment Commission also handed over refrigeration and air condition or RAC equipment to the Labour Ministry to assist the ministry with the RAC curriculum. The Montreal Protocol has been the most successful environment treaty of the United Nations and the only one to receive universal endorsement, where 197 member states unanimously came together to phasing out chemicals damaging the ozone layer. This is Ringdandu, BBS News.
The High Court dismissed the petition of Druk Nyamrup Sokba for a writ of mandamus against the government on Thursday. The party requested for a court order seeking to determine the government's granting of fiscal incentives.
The court reasoned that the petitioner, DNT, has no legal standing or jurisdiction to file a constitutional writ, as the petitioner is not a party member who is directly harmed. The judgment also states, as per the Civil and Criminal Procedure Code, only a person or class of individuals whose rights are directly affected or who suffered an actual injury has the legal standing to sue. The court also dismissed the submission of the Office of the Attorney General that the case is sub judice. The court justified that the power to obtain the opinion of the Supreme Court is bestowed upon the head of the state. Therefore, the Prime Minister, as the head of the executive branch of the government and belonging to a political party, cannot obtain the opinion of the Supreme Court, as it would violate the cardinal principle of separation of powers. The OAG, in its earlier submission, said the government has petitioned His Majesty the Druk Gyalpo for consideration to invoke Article 21, Section 8 of the Constitution to obtain opinion of the Supreme Court regarding the matter, thus effectively rendering the subject matter sub judice. While parliamentary remedial measures have already been taken to consider any fiscal incentives to be introduced as money bill, the court cautions that any fiscal incentives be based on principles of state policy as enshrined in the Constitution. It also stated that the political and constitutional mandate of a particular government is term-based, and therefore the court observes that any past fiscal incentives or schemes should be subject to review, if necessary, by the succeeding government and subsequently ratified by the Parliament through amendment or by way of introducing new money bill on those past fiscal incentives. The case was registered before the court in August this year. For Pema Sultan Sring, this is Ringdandu, BBS News.
Patients suffering from life-limiting illnesses such as cancer, heart diseases and other chronic illnesses need much more beyond disease-centered treatment. They need treatment for the emotional, social, spiritual and psychological pain they bear because of life-limiting illness. The treatment, known as palliative care, is given to improve the lives of such patients. But in Bhutan, there is not even a single palliative care professional. Health officials during the pre-conference workshop on medical and health sciences yesterday said there is need for such professionals in the country.
For a country like Bhutan, where cancer and chronic non-communicable diseases are on the rise, there is a need for such care services. Today, palliative care is a fairly young concept in Bhutan. There are only a handful of nurses who took few-week-long training in palliative care from India. Tara Devi, a lecturer at the Faculty of Nursing and Public Health under Kesugevo University of Medical Sciences, is one of the 8 nurses who were trained in palliative caregiving from India last year. She, along with her other colleague, is doing their best to give palliative care to patients who are in need of such care.
When they have incurable conditions, patients usually have so many symptoms. They will have physical pain and physical discomfort, along with psychological problems, spiritual distress, emotional problems. So that's why they need combined care for this patient, and so palliative care takes care of that.
They are hoping that palliative care would become part of routine medical practice someday. Although doctors and physicians play a vital role, others like social workers and volunteers too can give palliative care to patients in need. Palliative care was initially developed for cancer patients battling severe pain almost at the end of life. But today, WHO defines palliative care as an approach to improving life of patients and their families facing problems associated with life-limiting illnesses. Pup Game for BBS News.
The National Center for Hydrology and Meteorology has come up with the country's first flood forecasting model. The pilot model project in the Wangchu Basin in Thimphu will provide accurate flood information and early warning services to ensure preparedness.
The flood forecasting model is a subcomponent of the project Hydromet Services Improvement. Officials from the National Center for Hydrology and Meteorology said more urban settlements and presence of hydropower projects were the reasons for choosing the Wangchu Basin. Bhutan today has early warning systems for flood along the Mangdechu, Chamkrochu and Punasangchu basins only.
But these systems are based on flood detection systems. Only when a station detects the floods, then we are able to issue the warning. But when we talk about the forecasting, so we will be running a model based on how much the precipitations, so how much, based on the precipitation, how much there will flow in the river at the different locations at different places.
He added that the project will also help in determining the flow and management of river. It comes at a time when the world is confronted with the risk of climate change.
Most of these sectors talk about the, for example, like smart agriculture, smart water utilizations. So all these required the weather and climate informations, which in Bhutan the National Center for Hydrology and Meteorology has to provide. So therefore, mainly this will also generate the additional information that can be used by the different sectors.
The center will build a decision support system and information center under the project. The World Bank is funding the project, while the Regional Integrated Multi-Hazard Early Warning System based in Thailand is providing the technical support. For Sonam Chodin, Phúc Game for BBS News.
A research carried out by a postgraduate student of the Faculty of Traditional Medicine under the Kisagyabo University of Medical Sciences showed that traditional medicines can reduce blood pressure in hypertensive patients. The findings of the study, which was carried out for 2 months in Lindsay, was presented at the 2-day International Conference on Medical and Health Sciences in Thimphu.
Jimmy Singh, who is currently pursuing his post-graduation in traditional medicine, and his team carried out the study from December last year till January this year. For this study, the team examined blood pressure of 66 hypertensive patients who were attending religious events in Lindsay. The medicines used were Churu 25, which consist of 25 ingredients, Koji 13, prepared with 13 ingredients, and Agar 15, made with 15 ingredients of indigenous Bhutanese traditional medicines.
We used scientific tools to measure systolic and diastolic blood pressure, and the reading showed that systolic pressure decreased by 15.4% and diastolic reading decreased by 9.4% on an average.
Although these traditional medicines were in use for years, no scientific study was carried out to validate the efficacy of the medicines. As a result, their efficiency had often been a subject of debate among the health professionals.
Today, when people question us on evidence-based scientific study, there has not been any such study on traditional medicines. However effective the medicine may be, it doesn't get the recognition it deserves without any such study. So we carried out this study using scientific methods.
While his study findings showed significant reduction in blood pressure, he said that the level of its effectiveness needs to be explored further with larger sample size at various centers. And he also added that with growing awareness and belief on the safety of traditional medicines, the number of patients is also increasing. And this calls for more studies on the rest of the traditional medicines to validate their efficiencies. Phúc Game for BBS News.
Almost every time there is a story of farmers reaping good harvest without losing their crops to wildlife, it is attributed to having electric fencing installed around their fields. But setting up the facility comes at a price. Forestry officials are concerned that extraction of timber for such fencing could result in forest degradation in the long run.
These wooden posts, erected to hold the electric fencing wires, come from forest. Officials say the demand for such posts in Achiok accounts to 10 to 12,000 pieces.
If we have to allot that much fencing post for one queue, there are in one geok itself there are about 5-6 queues maybe there. So it may cost us to allot more than 20,000 posts in one geok. Similarly, if that applies to all the geoks, lots of destruction is taking place in the forest. The growth of the non-wood forest products, which is a food for the loss of wildlife. So that will slowly diminish, and the wild animals will naturally come to the habitats for the feeding.
With such high demands, during the Asia Protected Area Partnership Workshop in Thimphu yesterday, forestry officials recommended using of iron poles instead of the wooden ones. Asia Protected Area Partnership is a platform that helps governments and other stakeholders collaborate for effective management of the protected areas in the region.
If the government can provide them with the iron fencing posts, so that will be almost permanent in nature. It may last about 40-50 years, so that it will be lasting. Wooden post, they have to repair it after 4 years. Maybe at the most, the maximum 4 years, this gets rotten.
Electric fencing was legalized in 2012 to solve the long-standing issue of human-wildlife conflict. In its absence, farmers had to spend sleepless nights guarding the crops from wild elephants, wild boars, monkeys and deer. Pupgam for BBS News.
Regional tourists from India, Bangladesh and the Maldives could soon be charged a daily royalty fee of 500 ngultram and even have to stay at certified hotels. These are some of the new regulations that could come into effect soon. But hotels which are ranked 2 stars and below are concerned with the Tourism Council's new rules. More than 200 hoteliers and restaurateurs have even put up a petition to the government to reconsider the proposal. Come January, every regional tourist might have to pay 500 ngultram each day as sustainable development fee. Tourists would also have to obtain permits online, as permits on arrival at the immigration offices could be done away with. According to the Hotel and Restaurant Association of Bhutan, these are some of the new regulations proposed by the Tourism Council of Bhutan, or TCB. But budget hotels which are 2 stars and below say TCB's new regulations would discourage regional tourists from visiting the country. They shared 90% of their income are from regional tourists. The new regulations were first drafted in May and is expected to be approved by the cabinet in the coming days.
In Thimphu and Paro alone, there are about 100 budget hotels. There would be almost around 400 to 500 hotels in the country. And then each hotel has around 10 to 12 employees. So this would even affect their employment as well.
If the government keeps coming up with such rules, then I think it would be difficult for us. Right now, our business has already gone down by around 50%. Before, almost all our rooms were occupied, especially in October and November. But now, most are empty.
If the proposal is approved, they say regional tourists would also have to come in through tour operators, and the e-permit would be given only to passport holders. Initially, the plan was not to allow budget hotels to keep regional tourists. But following their appeals, the TCB had given them a 2-year time period to upgrade, after which only certified budget hotels will cater to regional tourists. But now they say the draft regulations would be enforced from January 2018 if approved by the government. The chairman of the Hotel and Restaurant Association of Bhutan, Thinle, said these new rules could lead to over-regulation and have a huge impact on the hotel industry.
So you've more than doubled the cost of travel for a family, which will essentially obviously do what was intended, to discourage them. The point is, how many of them will get discouraged? So 150,000 tourists are coming to Bhutan. If suddenly the bottom 50, 60, 70, 80,000 don't come, who normally gets this business? This business is normally for the budget hotels. So in a sense, what they're saying is correct. This will totally, all their regional businesses will be disappeared.
Some 100,000 regional tourists came to Bhutan last year. TCB did not want to comment on the matter. Isha Gelson, BBS News. Farmers in Paro have started replacing workers with machines as they continue to grapple with shortage and increasing labor cost. Farmers this season could save 80% of the labor cost as they deployed machines to harvest paddy.
Paro Valley, one of the country's top paddy cultivators, has already mechanized paddy cultivation. It is now rare to see workers line up, singing and harvesting paddy like in those olden days. Power reapers and combine harvesters are now taking over the role of workers in the field as labor wages continue to rise yearly. Farmers said the work that has to be done by 30 people in the past can now be done with just 4 people along with the combined harvesters.
It was easy to get laborers in the past. There were less people going to schools and there were many people in the village, so it made us easy to get laborers. But these days many go to school, which made it difficult for us. Last year I thought FMCL is not going to provide us the machines, so I had to hire about 40 workers to harvest paddy. So hiring people incurred me a lot of expenses, including the food and drinks that we provide. In old days, workers don't usually ask for drinks, but now they do, and we have to provide them. Now machines are making it easier and cheaper. We just have to pay the wages.
If we harvest 100 decimals of paddy, it requires 10 people and each person costs 600, which will cost us 6,000 mutam. And we again need 10 more people to collect paddy from the field and again approximately 10 people to thrash the paddy. So it cost us around 18,000 in total, excluding the expenditure on food. However, these days with machine, it just cost us around 3,000 mutam to harvest 100 decimals of paddy. So we save a lot with machines.
Farmers prefer the combined harvester over the power reaper. But with just 8 combined harvesters in the Dzongkhag, some farmers wait for their turn to get the harvesters. And some are forced to hire workers paying as high as 700 Newton per day for a person.
It's very difficult to get laborers. It is easy with machines, but since when everybody harvests together, it's even difficult to get machines also. There is no other option. We have to look for labor, but laborers are becoming expensive. They charge us 700 per day.
There wasn't much demand in the past, but this year, 8 combined harvesters are not enough. We need around 20 more harvesters to meet the demand of the farmers. Then only we could provide 2 combined harvesters to each geok, which will cover whole of Paro Dzongkhag. People rush for this machine because this harvests the paddy, thrashes the paddy, and rice is collected in the sack. Since it makes their work easier, they rush for this machine.
Farmers say farm mechanization is the only solution to encounter the shortage and increasing labor cost issues. And with farm mechanization, farmers believe agriculture in Bhutan is not going to be same anymore. For Sangi Chinzum in Paro, Pasa, BBS News.
Well, that's all for this time. Thank you for watching.